with a question now. How do they develop the required skill sets as part of the collaboration without any role conflicts? Sir, you would want to go first, and then Nitya can do it.
Yeah. So if one must understand, like, for what purpose this has been utilized. For example, transdisciplinary approach, when we go for it, why there is a need for that. So if that concept has been clear, there's a clarity in the mind of the professionals, then there won't be any conflicts. It's not something like we are going to substitute one profession with the other profession, right? So at any point of time, one if I'm a they cannot actually just totally transform into another profession, right? So but also in the as a beginner, he might be having some insecurity, like, okay, somebody is trying to practice wine, or those things. That fear will be there. For accomplished professionals with enough experience, and who understand, like, okay, if there is a collective assessment is happening, and then we identifying what is the major problem, which professionals actually playing major role here, and then maybe why not I share my knowledge with the person, so that will be kind of facilitated. So if that some clear understanding, I think that Nitya also has mentioned about the clear communication, like, so when we have that understanding, like, we are having one common goal. For that goal, each profession is actually contributing, but to avoid confusion to the parents, we are asking or making one person as the point of contact.
Right.
That is the understanding. If that understanding is there, there won't be any professional conflicts will come. At any given point of time, each one is having their own skills, and that skills to some extent can be, and that knowledge can be shared to facilitate the overall goal, but definitely it cannot actually replace one with the other. So that would actually serve the purpose. So for that reason, if you have enough understanding between among your team members, if you have that good rapport, and sit together and do the assessment, and then you take a decision, then you also value. For example, one person may not be able to express in detail, but or you may not be able to put things in a proper way, like he is not good in communication. Like I see speech therapists are very good in communication, so but I may not be that fluent in communicating. That doesn't mean that my point is need not to be taken. I don't understand your point of view, so I don't take your point. That's not the question here. You as that team leader needs to put some more concentration, and to understand, okay, he has a point, maybe he's not putting it properly, right? But then that is a valuable part which will help the child, right? So that kind of approach, if we have a very friendly, and we take the success as together for all of us, then this won't be a problem at all. In the end of the day, we want that like the child has to improve. That's for that this approach is helping. That kind of understanding, deep understanding is there, and your team leader is respecting, and your values have been taken. I think this won't be a problem. So I think maybe Nidya can add.
That is what, as I told before, here, to avoid road conflicts, we as a team should have a good open-minded skills. Open-mindedness should be there. Effective communication, because it's a substantial skill for self-awareness. And we have to adapt ourselves then to with the disciplines, adjust with them, understand what they are trying to do, rather than just tell that no, my this thing is this, that's it. That is not supposed to be there. And we should be well organized, and we should see whether our contributions fit the goal. Not just that just because I am there, I give some contribution and walk on. No, it should fit the goal. And debate, always, it is good to have debates. When we debate, we understand, okay, this is a problem here that the person is facing. We need to correct it. And this is a problem the patient is facing. We need to correct it. We understand. So when we have all these six: open-mindedness, adaptability, effective communication, debate, and organizing skills. With these, I think role conflicts also can be avoided. It doesn't always mean that we should always be with the role conflicts and we should work for the team. No, we can avoid it. And even if there is a role conflict, we can take it in a healthy way, that we can understand the other person's problem. As Selva sir said now, speech therapists, yes, I also observed they have a very good communication skill. I was observing both you, Neeraja, and Soumya. Like, yeah, you have a very good communication skill. That's a compliment for you. But then, yes, we have to appreciate that as well. We should know what we have to get, our contributions in a better way. So if that is there, I don't think we can get along with the team. And that is a skill, getting along with the team. Not everyone can possess this skill. Being mature and treating the clients. We are not some other IT, I don't want to say this, but it is not that we are in a different field. We are in a field where we are working for the clients ultimately, patients. So I think we have to get along.
So yeah, that should be a give and take between all the disciplines, right?
Yes,
We need
yes.
aspects of not only our disciplines, as well as try to bring an insight about what the other team members want to say, and educate them, learn from them. It is teaching and learning from each other. It is just not me growing alone, Yeah.
And until the time we maintain our ethics.
Yeah.
Which is very important. Ethically, how well we behave is also very important as far as the team is concerned.
Yeah. So that's what we need to decide, how much of expertise has to be transferred, and where we should limit ourselves, where we should draw boundary, and how much of role transfer, the various roles that you said, how much of role transfer should happen. Thank you so much, Dr. Selva and Srinitya, for bringing clarity on the roles and the role conflicts by the professionals, what they should be cautious about. Ms. Malika Ganapathy, ma'am, this question is for you. As transdisciplinary is a family-centered approach, how you think each professional can work towards the same goal and make the system work well for the child? Can transdisciplinary, in comparison to other approaches, elevate functional outcomes in the child and his or her family?
Yeah, I'll start with the last part of your question. Can it elevate functional outcomes? I think yes. That is one of the most important benefits of transdisciplinary. There was a lot of sharing on all the benefits. Srinitya shared quite a lot of benefits, but the most important one is it's not fragmented. It makes the whole intervention program very holistic and very clear. For example, parents, when they go to different professionals, even if it's an interdisciplinary team working together, they see different activities from an OT, from PT, from special educator, speech therapist, and they put everything in a separate compartment as a fragmented whole. They see it as a fragmented whole. So when they come back to me, they say, ma'am, today my son didn't cooperate when I sat with all the speech cards and we wanted to do 15 minutes of speech. And then he had to sit for another 40 minutes to do the worksheets which the special educator has given. Then I have to replicate the OT exercises, half an hour to 40 minutes of OT. And actually when you see, they get the same material that is used in the clinic at home, and they try to replicate the services in isolation of each other.
Yeah. Soumya, you can go on.
Yeah. Soumya, can I just go ahead with the next question for you?
Yes, Megha.
Yeah. Day-to-day activities of a child's life can be converted into an opportunity for learning. How does such a learning happen with transdisciplinary method? Is transdisciplinary one of the best approaches of early intervention practice? Do the transfer and generalization of the goals become easier or better with this approach, as there is no fragmentation and parents have to deal with one key service provider?
Okay.
Yeah, Soumya.
The questions are fully loaded. Yeah, so actually, it goes in tune with what Mrs. Ganapathy was just saying, that right. Very often, what happens is that if, families are going for different therapies, and then everyone knows that the family needs to work with the child, to provide the opportunities in a more naturalistic environment, which is home, to build on those skills and all the goals that we want to catch up on. And often, like she said, exactly what Mrs. Ganapati was saying, that, they look at it as, speech therapy goals, OT goals, special ed goals. The psychologist, gave a few strategies to try out, or the PT gave something. So they look at it as, okay, let me do 45 minutes of this and then an hour of this or 45 minutes of that. But then if you look at it, right, families are already very overwhelmed. They have their own regular, day-to-day routine, and they have so many things that's going on. You need to look at the family dynamics first, and that's where it's beautiful when you use a transdisciplinary approach. Because if the therapists sit together, I mean, even if there is, logistically not possible for you to be in physical proximity, we're in a wonderful age of, technology, where there's so many different ways to connect, right? So if all the different professionals working with the child at a given point of time, or whoever the child needs, the kind of input. So maybe the child is not going to a psychologist, but you see the need for that kind of input. So maybe they're not really going to therapy, to a therapist, but you feel that, that we need that input. We can always connect them into the team, or you bring them into the team, right? So if all the therapists sit down together and say, okay, this is what the family needs now. So let's say, for an example, again, the goals mostly being that the family wants the child to start speaking, or the child the child say, if you're looking at a child on the autism spectrum, the child's not, engaging in interactive play, is only doing, solo play, solitary play. So maybe let's take that one goal, that I want my child to be happy to play with me. Anytime I go close to the child, he moves away, and, he doesn't say bubbles, or he doesn't say pop, right? Now, first thing is, what we want is for activities to be fun. So for all of us, we only want to repeat happy experiences. Any experience that we go through, unless it's a happy experience in some form, it's not something that we want to repeat. And it's the same thing for the child. So first of all, when we're looking at home program, it has to suit the home. It's not good enough if we each of us write a set of 5 activities for the family to go back and do. So first is, only if all the therapists together, professionals sit together and realize that, okay, this is the family dynamics. It's a single parent, or it's a joint family, it's a nuclear family, both parents are working, the child's always with a nanny. It's being idealistic and being practical is very different. So yes, ideally we want the family to spend so much time, but practically it's not possible. Who's going to pay for the child's therapy if they both don't work, maybe? So it's easy for us to say, why do you have a nanny for the child, and the parent should be working? But if that's what they have, that's the first thing to recognize in a transdisciplinary team, to say that this is what the family can work with. This is what is possibly, what is, possible for the family, whether financially, emotionally, logistically, whatever it is, this is what is possible. And then we work around that. So home programs and home activities, all of that, first and foremost, should revolve around what is feasible, practical, possible, sustainable for the family, where they will be motivated enough to continue that. Then once we have that, we understand that, what is the current goal, what is the current requirement, need for the family. So, okay, this is what we want. We want the child to come outside the child's bubble and start, interacting with people around, right? So the speech therapist says, okay, this is how you do it. You have to sit down, like we do it, some of the Hanen strategies, sit down face to face, and, you use maybe one word or 2 words. And then the OT says that, you need to give the child a lot of vestibular stimulation, because he needs that much to feel comfortable. The psychologist, is working with the family in terms of, you also need to remember that while our goals and assessments and everything is directed for the child, the people who are working and who are around the child are the adults, who are the family. So also need to look at adult learning styles, right? So all families and all, parents and, family members are very different. So we also need to be able to recognize that for this family, I need to communicate to them in this particular way, so that they relate to the information that I'm saying, right? It is difficult. It is not natural. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean that naturally you know how to lie on the floor and play with the child. It's not something that comes naturally, right? So that is where it helps with everyone sits together and says, okay, now there's one bubble activity which the child seems to really love. Now, while you're doing this one activity, what kind of communication strategies can you use? What kind of inputs from the OT can you use? Now, as a parent, I am not someone who is capable, or I know I am not a very on the floor or running behind the child. I'm usually somebody who needs to sit. I'm a very passive parent. So then that's where, psychologists can come in terms of helping the family with, looking at play therapy aspects. Right? So you have to look at it from all those aspects and say, yes, You have 5 different activities, but it's not that one is an OT activity, one is a PT activity, one is a special ed activity. While you're doing that one activity, this is how you can stimulate and build all these different skills. And to do that, you need inputs from all the different therapists, right? And while yes, all the different therapists inputs are required, it doesn't make sense if all of us are talking to the parent from different perspectives. So that is where a single service provider, so at any given point of time, one person takes charge. Now, having said that, yes, it's easy for, say like a center like ours where we did have most of the professionals, it's easier to do that. But there are centers that it's not possible to have. And which is where I said technology is, really good for us today. It's about picking up and having a conversation with the other professional, working with the family, right? It's just that wanting to take that extra effort and step to say, for me, the family and the child's, agenda is primary importance, not I need to achieve my goals, right? So every day-to-day activity at home, from every waking hour the child spends is usable, practical, fun, naturalistic learning, right? The parent is always interacting with the child. The parent is always doing, you're always doing something. So whether it is, bath time, whether it is feeding time, driving to therapy, there are families who are always on the road because driving to OT, driving to speech therapy. What can you do at that time? So first is day-to-day activities, involving the child's life. When we're looking at giving home programs, it has to be, like I said, practical for the family. It has to be doable. They should be able to, not come back with excuses saying, oh, I couldn't do it because of this. And that is where we come in as professionals, because it's too much to ask the families to get creative on their own. Some of them are, yes, some of them find it difficult. So that's where we come in and say that, okay, using our knowledge and skills and experience, we are able to, design a home, program for you, which will, give you all of it, all the benefits, what needs to be done, while not, being very overwhelming for the family. And when you do it this way, you will see tremendous changes. And then, the family becomes more motivated. It becomes a happy experience for the family. They begin to see that something's working. It's not that, every day I'm working hard, but then, it's not, it get very frustrating, right? So just working very hard, putting in so many, hours or minutes of the day towards, helping your child is not enough. The process of it and what's happening over there is what's important. And that's where I think, again, a transdisciplinary approach, would really make sense.
Thank you so much, India, for brilliantly bringing in the paramount importance of family and the child, and how the team members have to select their goals around the child's and the family's needs. Thank you so much for your answer. And ma'am, we kind of lost you, so we just want to hear your experience on this about the functional outcomes that you have to elaborate. And another is the key service provider or the primary service provider, the key worker when steps in. The fragmentation does not happen, and there is a beautiful connection that happens between the professionals and the family. So you can add on to both the questions and give your answer, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Like Soumya did share that parents are always multitasking, right? They're doing so much work, they get overwhelmed. And here we have 5 people giving 5 different programs to the parent. They're really thrown, and they don't even have the energy to sit and think, how do I put these programs together? One is expertise, knowledge, and skills, to spontaneously think of how can I integrate the program. So they find it very difficult. So we have to integrate it, help them think that way. Once they understand that this is the channel I take, over a period of time, they start thinking that way. But initially we have to do it. And that's where, the collaboration and the key worker comes in. And like Soumya mentioned in the introduction, we choose the key worker based on the lead therapist is chosen on the need of the child. If it's a child with cerebral palsy, more of physiotherapy needs, then she is a lead therapist. If it's somebody who has more psychological needs, it's the social worker or the educator, a child with LD, more of emotional as well as educational needs, and a speech therapist. If there is a language-based issue, then we have the speech therapist. We decide who's the lead therapist for the student, and that lead therapist generally follows at least once a month a session of the child. Being a remedial center I'm a trustee of an organization, we have only maximum 2 sessions in a week, 8 sessions in a month. But the therapist will go around and see the other sessions. We are always in discussions. We have every weekly meetings to discuss. But when you observe the sessions, you look at the activities the therapist is using to bring in her goal, okay, achieve her goal. And the mother is a very important part. We follow the triad approach, like Soumya said. The mother is part of the session. She's there. She's interacting with the child. She's trying to do the sessions with the child, and the therapist supporting and helping her, and we observing. After the sessions are over, we have a meeting. The lead therapist has a meeting with the mother, which is a prolonged meeting, 1.5 hours or 2 hours at times, on how to integrate all that happening in the 4 areas. So we basically brainstorm on how can it be integrated into the daily routine of the child. Like Soumya said, what can be done when we are driving? Can we have a communication with the child? Can we listen to music and sing? Or can we, during playtime or bath time, can we have communication which is related to that? And that is education. At early intervention, your language training and communication is blends, right? It's not very different. And ADLs, like even sensorial training can be done during puja and kitchen work. Most of your muscle, small muscle training and focus, attention, learning academics, numeracy, counting, colors, everything can happen during kitchen. Sensorial activity, the smells, the touch. So we sort of sit together and we say, oh, how can we integrate it? If we have a difficulty, the lead therapist consults somebody else. Other therapists say, hey, can we do this during this time? Do you think it is appropriate? So we have a constant discussion, and the parent takes home a program where she has been part of the discussion. It was not given to her. We have brainstormed it together, a proper program which is so integrated, she can do it through the day. And basically what we do is we make the program with less jargon, more meaningful, and it is through the day, 24 hours a day. And parents are sort of empowered. After some time, they come and say, oh, instead of 2 sessions, can I make it 1 session? So that I think I can manage at home the rest of the time. And that is what transdisciplinary, actually contributes. It's an amazing therapy which empowers professionals and parents. And it sort of removes the barriers between the professionals. Like, it removes, they say, oh, wow, we are all working together. And what I'm doing involves what you're doing. Like, when a school, when a teacher or a special educator is sitting with a child, she needs to understand what posture to give, how to make him right, what sort of grip should I give, how should I communicate with him. He's a non-verbal child, she needs to know how to use AAC. Otherwise, she's not going to communicate. She's just going to talk. It is a monologue and not a dialogue. So it's very crucial that we understand. We don't become experts, but we understand other professional skills so that we can deal with the child holistically with the main focus on our area, but also attending to the other areas. So I think it is the best family-based approach. And it's easy. Like Soumya said, in organized institutions have all professionals in one building. Most of the clinics these days have all professionals in one building. So it's really not something which is going to be difficult. I think it's, even if you're an independent professional working, you can network among other professionals and have a team. Though you are working in different places, you could still do it together. Yeah. Thank you, Neeraj.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, Malika ma'am and Soumya. So just TD being the best, more holistic, not fragmented, more family-centered, looking at functional outcomes, and also breaks the barrier between all the disciplines who are working for it. That's excellent. I would like to go to Dr. Selva Ganapathy now for the next question. Sir, parents make the choice of treatment goals with transdisciplinary therapy program. How does the team liaison with the parents happen in TD? That's transdisciplinary approach.
Yeah. So the goal is set by the parents. Like mostly we tell the parents like, okay, what is the expectation of your child? So then the parents express that so-and-so is a problem and this is what I'm looking for it. So now as that process goes, like together if we assess, and then so we can each profession and complement the other one, and after the entire assessment is over, maybe the brainstorm can happen and come into conclusion like for the problem expressed by the parent, what could be the better solution. If you understand the problem, then you will definitely know actually which professionals actually will play a major role. So then if we understand this is the problem and this particular profession can will be the key point of contact, then that things, I mean, in the team, within the team, that understanding will happen, and then what kind of knowledge transfer has to happen, right? So for example, if the parents is complaining like, okay, my child is doing this self bite, you might have noticed this kind of problems they come with. So, and then when we sit and analyze this together, and we understand that finally it is the behavior of the parent which is causing some anxiety to the child. Every time the child is anxious, it has started doing this. So then the problem comes like, okay, we need to work with the parent. And then as a occupational therapist or physiotherapist may not be very well skilled on that. It can be handled by the psychologist or the social worker. So that level, so that kind of behavioral approach may be the solution for the problem. In that context, so we will know that actually who has to play a role. So, and then similarly in another context, like it is mostly based on the context, I would say, right? In a setup, like when we plan that activity and participation is the major goal, right? For example, not all the cerebral palsy children can be made to stand and walk. Okay, we have the classification. Most of us know some particular category. We decide that it is no longer possible for the child to walk, but yet the activity and participation level has to be improved. Again, the physiotherapist is the point of reference, like the physiotherapy referral has come. So now I have understood that I may not be of much helpful for this child. The goal is improving the activity level and participation level of the child, which is the play activity and the schooling, right? And which is not happening. Okay, now I should play a facilitator role and to communicate with the local school, or maybe identify the person who is in the community health worker. So I should make appropriate referral, right? So then in that sense, it's not like I'm not doing physiotherapy work. It is physiotherapy service. So physiotherapy assessments and the treatment always now the current emphasizes is like we should not work only with impairment, like only strengthening or only walking or something like that. Not like only particular aspect of it. It should reflect their life. Your therapy should reflect in their life. It should make some difference in their life. Then only it is meaningful. Otherwise, we can only say clinical level success. It is not at the community or what actually needed for the child or for the parent. In that sense, if we are understanding this aspect of it, and we can easily even convince the other team members, even naturally they will understand, like when we figured it out, this is a problem, and this other professions has to now only just share their knowledge. So to and give an example, like we recently had one collaboration, we had one project somewhere in rural Karnataka, Shimoga. There's a place called Tirthahalli. Like then the project is to make the children be an inclusive part of the regular school, right? So but this is the project taken by the social worker. Okay, and suddenly I received a call saying that, sir, we noticed that it's not only that we put the child into school, we have got everything, permission, everything, we have arranged a special educator, everybody, but we have noticed and the parents are complaining a lot of physical issues. So can you give some knowledge on that, and can you contribute on that? So now I spoke to the family members individually, understood, we made the video call. As pandemic situation, we are not able to visit in person, but we have actually spoken with video call and audio call, all we made it. And then I understood each child requirement, everything in terms of physiotherapy. So but now I am not in a position to go there and deliver it, right? So now the social worker, we are all in the team, everybody is listening. When I am asking the questions, even social worker is listening, special educator and other professionals, even the person who funded the project, everybody is observing. So it means everybody listens the problem, right? What is happening? And I am in the position now to empower the person who is there in the community, right? The person is the special educator who is going to give the activity in the school. And we cannot tell that no, she has to only teach something, no, right? If the contracture aspect needs to be prevented throughout the day, that this has to be followed. So most of having understanding, like the child is going to spend a lot of time in school, and if you are not emphasizing the no range of motion exercises or the stretching part or the posture or the no sitting position, all these things, if you're not taking care, then again it's a failure, right? She must be knowing that what is a right position, what is a suitable chair for the child. Everything has to be, that knowledge transfer has to happen, then it is going to be a successful one. So likewise, if you think that in that context, if I think that no, why the physiotherapists are not appointed there? In fact, they are ready to appoint a therapist. This is part of the project. But the problem is, like, we are not in a position to go there and deliver it. And the available person, the resource person, mostly it works in the low resource setting, like no, where there is not much professional, skilled professionals are available. So whomever there, then we must empower them. And even if you are teaching all this exercise program to the parent, we need somebody to frequently go and supervise. Okay, again, you are not in a position to do it, so at least you should empower the person who is available. Then that supervision part at least will be taken care, or the concerns of the parents can be expressed. No, they can communicate to you. That person, the facilitator, will communicate to you, sir, they are complaining with this new problem. So what could be the solution? What we can do about it? So always this is going to work the person what they deserve will be given. If you are understanding that no professional issues are coming up, and I'm working for the team and working for the patient. So the team members all will have the good understanding about, we made one decision uh, based on the problem, based on the context. Then this kind of understanding among the team members have been arrived, then it is easy to actually implement this. So as a team, we have to just contribute profession wise, we can contribute if there is a role. And then sometimes we may have to transfer the knowledge to another person to execute the function.
Thank you so much, Dr. Selva. There is no one size fits all program here in TD. So we need the key worker, empowering the key worker in order to avoid fragmentation. At the same time, rope in the one-on-one therapy sessions where only the specialized therapy techniques can be carried out by the respective professional. So respecting the boundaries as well as empowering the key worker. So this is how we liaise with the parents. Thank you so much for bringing in a lot of your project and a lot of examples here. We appreciate that.